So for this video of Pirate Adventures, we had some technical difficulties. So myself and my good friend Sonny are going to be adding some commentary on certain parts of the video when and where they are needed. But apart from that, enjoy the show. And welcome back to Pirate Adventures. Last left off, our dear crew grieve the loss of beloved NPC, once player, and after dealing with the aftermath with funeral discussion and such, realign themselves to their main focus, the water whistle. And I kind of bring it back straight to you guys on what is the plan. Where we last left off, you had No-Eyed Bill looking for the general location of the water whistle. But is there any particular preference on how you're going to get there? Carry on regular ocean, jump into the astral sea? Did you fancy trying to navigate by any particular islands or taverns? Like anything that maybe try to swing by the dream boat to get supplies or anything like that? Is there anything else you wanted to do along the
We
way?
were on the right side for the dream boat, I swear that was on the left.
That was way on the left. Basically, as long as our supplies are okay, which we are, because food and water.
Constant foraging.
Yeah, exactly. Constant.
Elizora's crate and destroy water.
Him can got his jug.
Mm.
The plan. Okay, gonna head straight there. If there is an opportunity to stop somewhere where we could potentially.
So here, Vaela is mentioning about getting recruits, and I think we go on to discussing whereabouts you guys are going to try find recruits. But yeah, just as that's a little bit missed in translation, they're looking to bolster their ranks
After severe losses from.
After severe and horrible losses from the last the last fight.
Any kind of settlement that we could potentially replenish our ranks. I don't know how advertising works.
It'll be easier now. The fleet aren't gonna be hounding pirates so much anymore. More appetizing.
I was going to say, so because you're coming from the wreckage, you go a bit further north, you'd go to island of Marical, its biggest sort of continent, bar the fleet. So that would obviously have a lot of availability on there for where you could go researching for some crewmates. The Isle of Bosti is obviously very nearby. But apart from that, I don't think any of you are particularly aware of anything good. I suppose Elizora and Alarias give me history checks, because you two are probably the most well-travelled.
I will selfishly push for Marical for us to go there to recruit.
We need south, not.
Yeah, that's really north.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I'll still push it.
That's a 25. Sorry, 23. Sorry, I had a +5.
23. I will say,
16.
From what you learned last time, the last location you saw was moving, and it was south, but you don't know where it's moved to. That's all I'm going to say at the moment.
Isn't Aramil and like the what you call it, those weird creatures supposed to be in this side of the sea as well?
Yes, I will say, yeah, from what you last learned, your knowledge of Aramil and his time traveling exploits and research, and whatever these time creatures are, was this side of the ocean. I have a... So, either, from your experience, Elizora, Marical is massive. There's lots of different settlements there. It is a really good place to pick up new meat, essentially. It's definitely good for that kind of thing. The wreckage is also good for anyone that's just jumped off ship and decided to move on. But obviously, with what recent events, that's less likely to be beneficial to you. The Isle of Bosty you've picked up from there before. It's a port. It's 2 port towns, a north and a south one, and then a lot of sort of just wildlife in between. You could probably pick some people up there, but it won't be many. On this side of the ocean, further south, there is a dwarven mining colony, and this tends to be where most people that aren't the fleet have got like weapons made, metallic sort of repairs on ships, new cannonballs, cannons in themselves. They also quite often, sometimes the dwarves get bored and they want to set sail and have some adventure, so that can also be a bit of a good place. And generally, from your experience, Elizora, quite often, if you can find like an island, a water market, or anything like that along the way, there are people who are wanting to get off and go around, and you can probably find a few of them on the way, but it's less likely if you actually went to a specific settlement.
Because there's that an island here that I remember that there was like something that looks like an elephant's ear on the map.
Ah,
I
yes.
remember, because that's like directly south of the wreckage. I remember that was like a thing. You had to get, there's like a rumor or something in there. There's that island of you. That just trees.
Yep, the island of View. So there's a few. So the stuff with that is that it's went to a few tales around that. From that history check, you remember there is meant to be some kind of treasure trove there. That's where apparently a very famous pirate run aground. So assumedly they think his treasure's there, but also most people think the island of View is haunted.
I mean, you've got Kenshima. That's like southeast.
Yeah, that was Zorro's home. So
They're all
all
fighters and
Zorros.
stuff. Everyone treated Zoro as a weirdo, like as a weird person from Kenshima. So it's not like they're all going to be exactly like Zoro. And wasn't Elena's also from Kenshima as
Elena
well?
is also from Kenshima, yeah, but she wasn't there as long as Zorro was.
So I mean, Kenshima's probably, if we want people who have like fighting ability, maybe Kenshima's the bit in between. Like, it's like the compromise between still being able to go south while still targeting somewhere that's functionally useful for us at the same time.
Yeah, that could be a good. And didn't we have a thing about one of the artifacts potentially being where?
That was the yeah, it was like the island that knows the sword. Yeah, that's Starcreek's press pistol.
Could be worth. It could be worth.
I will say,
We wanted the whistle because we wanted it to be something that they crappy to them.
when you looked at the globe,
I will mention as well, like one of the things I was trying to say was around the fleet, because we initially wanted to go for the water whistle to give that to the fleet. So we were like looking for the one and lesser ones, but obviously with the pistol, that could be a better one. That was kind of the one, and like whether we would take that risk. That was kind of what I was trying to get through on this one.
yeah, because there's been a little bit of, not confusion, what's the word? There's a little bit of mystery around the pistol. There's kind of, it doesn't come up on the globe, but it's mentioned as an artifact. There's a few things around it, so it's one of those. Is it worth the risk? On top of that, as well, if you do get it and it is good, you do really want to hand it over to the fleet. The only thing I will add on while we're here, this was a little bit previous, but because I've remembered the damn name by now, the legendary pirate, and this is for anyone who's decided to watch back, but the legendary pirate that run aground and has left his treasure trove somewhere is Roger Reginald. just because it annoys me that I didn't say that at the time. As a glowing dot appeared seemingly for every artifact, Kenshima did not have one.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
So we know that it's kind of potentially.
I think, I think the pistol is probably the one artifact that isn't actually an artifact, potentially, out of the rest. So I mean, Kenshima might still be. Let's head for Kenshima, and then we can figure stuff out with it on the way, I guess.
I will say another thing. That island a little bit closer to you is unexplored.
Well, the Hag's Bottle is the island shaped like an elephant.
Yep.
Which is directly south of the wreckage.
But then remember, we wanted to, because the idea was like the next one we get, you have to give the fleet one.
Yeah.
So that was the reason that we were going to go for the win.
I know, but if we're gonna get like multiple anyway, right? Well, if we could get the Hag's Bottle and then get the water whistle, and then depending on how. Although, do we want the Hag's Bottle now? That's the other question, I guess.
I wouldn't.
Well, if it's like, because if we're saying we're weaker as a group because we just got destroyed by a giant, like,
Weaker
do
as a
we
ship.
feel we're up? Do we feel we're up for actually taking on a challenge like the Hag's Bottle? Because
Well-
like the Hag Bottle specifically is like literally she keeps people alive to send horror notes to those who love them.
Okay, that's.
So it's a bit like, okay, it's a bit sketch in terms of like, and like a very like sort of obviously horror component to it. And so it's obviously like obviously a Hag Coven is very dangerous. Like we just about scathed through one in Bosti, and we had a lot of people for that.
I will say there is no specific mention of there being multiple hags. In the tales around the island of you, it is very much haunted. And in terms of the hag's bottle, only ever mention of one.
Stories, aren't they?
You know,
Yeah.
finding a hag not in a coven is strange.
Yeah. I mean, they'll probably have the bottle as their means to keep them strong. But overall, I think maybe we go for Kenshima. We use it as like our strength building, confidence building measure, and then we're in the middle to be able to go north to the Hag's Bottle, or further south to the Water Whistle, or even like staying in the middle to try and find where Aramil and his timekeeper people things are. You know, that probably gives us a good opportunity to be quite flexible.
No, that makes sense. Happy with that. Head towards, while still obviously every now and again, probably.
Yeah.
So, think what you say here, if I remember correctly, but essentially what you're saying is get No-Eyed Bill to look at the globe to sort of keep an eye on the globe stuff, but make your way to Kenshima.
Yeah, because well, I was asking him to see if there's any sort of irregular movements, if something just suddenly disappears or reappears, if something not violently, but like ridiculously changes from one end of the flood to the other, or if the fleet starts getting artifacts that we don't know about, and so on and so forth, or if the pistol just randomly shows up, because one of our beliefs is that the pistol's in another dimension or something. So if that just suddenly pops up, or it suddenly moves, just to keep on top of it, basically. That was the idea.
Yeah,
Okay,
for
so
sure.
you're gonna aim for Kenshima. So would you go to the Serpent's Pass first, or would you go to Kenshima first?
What's
'Cause
the
Serpent's Pass is the Serpent's Pass. No, maybe Serpent's Pass isn't the island that we were looking out for. So
There's like,
essentially,
there's one right in the middle. That's like
there's kind of on the way to Kenshima. There's 3 other islands you can pop in. Just because you mentioned about looking for
Yeah.
Aramil and the Timekeepers, there's 3 islands you could maybe visit along the way, or do you want to go to Kenshima as like a straight cut and then
So, yeah,
come
yes.
back, visit certain islands along?
I think we should go to Serpent's Pass, but because we're down crew, maybe not. It's been mentioned a lot of times. Serpent's
Yeah.
Pass.
What's the draw of Serpent's Pass? Do we know?
Aramil's up
There's
right.
something there. It's up
Well, it's
to
the
There's
the
a-
timekeepers. And then the thing is that all the timekeeper stuff was Deal's problem.
Well, no, because like there was a guy that said give the Naramil's notebook to past Aramil so he can help in the future. Like that still helps us. Like despite not having Grazil to be able to send him back. You
Always
know,
helps to have a time traveling wizard with you. Just saying.
Druid though.
Get a multi-class, 2 levels of wizard.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of useful
I
kit.
use a bit.
I'm very concerned about our lack of map.
Ourselves are still strong. Like us as the fighting party, we're still strong enough. Like
It's just
be
on
able
the
to handle a
seas.
lot of what's going on. It's just it's either
It's ship battle.
Do we get a long rest in the middle though? Because spell slots is the main thing.
we'll surely get a long rest.
Yeah, there's a lot of travel time between
Do we?
like there and Kenshima. There's still plenty of time between there and Serpent's Pass. Like you kind of had a indirect route away from the wreckage, so we can say it's a few more days to complete a long rest, and it would definitely be over a week for Kenshima.
Okay.
Okay.
And why are we going there again? Sorry, because I missed the first part of it.
Water Whistle's south, and we're looking at things that are in that south vicinity of where we roughly are. And Kenshima's, we know Kenshima's got has made strong fighters. So if we go Kenshima, or at least head in that direction, we've got a good thing we can tell the crew. We're going to go and get better fighters or good fighters that can help us. And also gives us that direction so that if we do want to go back north, back west, or back south, we're right in the middle to be able to react to that decision quite smoothly.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Could we pick up more troops in Kenshima?
That's the hope. That's the hope.
Okay. So we could come back to Serpent's Pass.
Potentially. Yeah, I don't see why
That could
not.
be our route for sure.
Yeah.
It could be Kensima up Stephen's Path, and
So-
then you can go like Hag's Bottle or Water Whistle or whatever, right?
Yeah, Alarias and Elizora, you'd know the Serpent's Pass. Only very, very clever sailors have used that to escape fleet ships because it is not easy to get through. But have seen one person do it before. That was Bloodbeard.
On board, we got ourselves a guy who went through the maelstrom, so the center circle, so she'll be fine too. There's other things that distract us along the way, maybe, but our initial aim, however small, shall be conceived.
Didn't expect this, guys. Didn't expect it. So just very quickly dig out my notes for Kenshima.
Didn't
I wrote
expect
these
it to be
ages ago.
logical. Ah,
I mean, I was like, oh, I've written this lovely thing out. They'll never go to it. There you go. Who knew?
you know.
We could shipwreck there all of a sudden.
That's fine. Oh, Christ, I even have Spotify music for it.
We could still go there, it's wherever you're wanting us to go.
No, this is great. Okay, cool.
I mean, we get there eventually, right?
Of course. Just rolling to see what if my other thoughts might happen or not.
I've got plans for the journey, so
Well, cast off, leaving the waters at which much trauma has occurred for all crew members. Sail into the waters, partly against the wind, but just enough catch to carry on with decent speed. The weather is wind battering, but generally a clear sky. And for that, make good speed. As the battering waves are crashing through, journey begins. Not much will happen. I am happy for any RP happen now.
Vaela will want to.
So we're gonna need to just cut this entire bit, right?
Pretty much, yeah. This is the big one.
So, to surmise, to summarize this entire section, which is, 60 to 70% lost, Vaela makes a proposition of Umbra to make him more official, less terrifying, less of the mythic creature in the bottom of the ship, more of the laboratory doctor assistant that perhaps is less terrifying to the rest of the crew, while also leveraging his miracle memory potion to basically make the crew a lot of money, of which I think the agreed percentage was 30%. Have I cleared off everything?
Yeah. So the idea was basically to make bank on this miracle potion that cures Alzheimer's, dementia, and amnesia. And the idea was to sweeten the deal would give Umbra 30% of any money that we sell these potions for. I know that Vaela was using examples like just flog it to some noble person for like 50,000 gold because they'll pay through the nose for something like that. And like to advertise by getting Elizora and Umbra, the two sort of shapeshifters, to casually talk about it, and basically start the rumors off. So that was the sort of one point. The second was to move Umbra from basically the arse end of the ship, the bottom back of the ship, to sort of more central. I think we ultimately went on the room next to the infirmary, because I think we were going to say like Umbra would also help Tim as a sort of nurse kind of type role whenever Tim needed it. And then to sort of, there was a lot of contention around his position.
Yes,
Because,
he was very upset at the fact that he wasn't going to be the mortuary, or no, the
The mortician.
mortician, except he isn't a mortician
No.
now. So
No,
not
he was
the general argument.
No, exactly. Like Umbra was like wanting to be called a mortician, but yeah, Vaela was like, "You're not a no. You don't do anything, that would warrant you being
Do-
called a mortician."
Yeah, as well as that, I think your winning argument was he wants live subjects.
Yeah, he wants live subjects to test on, and a mortician doesn't deal with live subjects. So, I think we spoke. I think again, round about it all, I think we ended up settling on alchemist, which is
Yeah,
oddly
so
enough his
either
subclass anyway.
apothecary or alchemist or researcher, scientist, something along those lines.
Yeah, 'cause,
Generally would cover Umbra's position.
yeah, and he'd have, instead of a morgue, he'd have like a laboratory, because again, it just seems a little bit more uplifting, I guess, than a morgue.
Less terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. And the idea was to allow him somewhat more freedom to pursue his interests, as long as again it doesn't put the crew into any danger. Because obviously, as I said, he wanted these live specimens, and again there was a lot of talk around that. And Vaela just basically was of the opinion that it's case by everything about this deal is a case by case basis. She's not going to allow a living dragon to be put into the bottom of the ship. So it's just all about like, can we guarantee it's going to be locked, not going to break out? Is it safe? Could we deal with it if it broke out, kind of thing?
Yes.
We couldn't have Johnny locked up. It just wouldn't have happened.
No, it wouldn't have worked. Wouldn't have happened. Wouldn't have worked.
No.
I think the other point that was mentioned was that not only does he get a 30% share, he also gets an assistant.
Yes, well, he wants
And-
assistance, but I said, if you want, Vaela said rather, if he wants to take an existing member of the crew, they would only have to be able to work part-time because we're on a sort of bare skeleton crew as it is. But he's obviously welcome to bring new people, because we need more people in the crew anyway. to be his assistants, but they would be paid by the ship, wouldn't be paid by him. So they would still be adhering to Vaela ultimately
As captain.
as captain. They are still members of the crew. So he can't just hire a bunch of mercenaries. That's not going to work.
No, so the essential way it would work is he'd essentially be an officer with an apprentice.
Yeah, because that was the other thing that came up, is like if he would be made an officer. And Vaela was basically saying that for an officer, they need to have the confidence of the crew, that they have their best interests. So in his current state, Umbra is, like I said, the boogeyman. There's no way the crew would be happy with him being an officer. Now, Umbra's attending officer meetings anyway, one for having all the players involved, and two because he has that sort of somewhat specialist knowledge.
Indeed.
But if his incentive, I guess, is that if he can bring the crew around, then he would be made an officer to whatever that entails. Because even though he's in the officers' meetings, he has no real vote. He has no real say. He's just listening in, essentially. So that's all based on his things. Yeah, I think that was largely the crux of it all. I think there was a little thing about like how would expenses work. If he needed new equipment.
If equipment would be expensed to the ship, essentially.
Yeah.
To
within
the crew.
reason. Like,
within reason, yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to buy him all diamond encrusted tools.
It's got to be done through an expense form. It has to be like authorized and all that.
Is it taxable? All this. Yeah,
it's taxable. It's got to be taxable.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's everything. And the other thing that was clarified as well is that his potions are something he can definitely replicate as a magic item with his infusion, as long as the ingredients are available to draw from. Because the thing I specified was that he can use the essence of the thing without actually using up the ingredient via magic.
Yeah.
So that way, it kind of explains how his infusion is replicating the potion.
Yeah, rather than replicating the finished potion.
Yeah, it's getting all the essences and putting it together and saying, right, and there's the potion without using up any ingredients. As long as he can keep those ingredients, everything's fine.
And Vaela's, there's 2 potions left, and Vaela's keeping them in her apparent safe that she has.
Yes. So the other thing I'll elaborate, because we didn't mention it in session, is just because as a captain, there is generally a safe in your quarters. It's just ships come with them almost 90% of the time. There's a safe in the captain's quarters, so you can put it in that safe.
Yeah, which is where she'd put them in there for safekeeping. I think that was it. I think that was all the stuff we were involved with Umbra. So after Umbra got out, all for Elizora.
Hi, Captain.
So what do you think about it?
I think 30%'s a bit steep, but you got him on board. Probably a risk to give him too much slack, but I mean, you gotta give himself the rope to hang himself with.
Hey, what? I think we'll kind of go through this as well, but basically Vaela knows Elizora listens to everything, especially because of the nature of Elizora. Vaela imagines that if she's got a meeting and Elizora's not in it, Elizora's finding out what's in there.
Elizora is the eyes and ears of the ship.
Literally, yeah. And that's, part of the reason why Elizora is the first mate as well. So that's why Vaela kind of brought Elizora in for 2 reasons. And this is probably a bit of insider stuff, I guess, as well. Is that, one, so Elizora knows that Vaela knows that that she's the eyes and ears of everything. And also, it obviously, as first mate to get her opinion on the matter, which I think all in all was like, she agreed. I think that was overall.
Generally, yeah.
And Vaela was
generally agreed, thought it was a good plan.
Yeah, and Vaela sort of tasked her with that, keep an eye on him, keep your eyes and ears pinned on him, because Umbra is very much a loose cannon. And I think there was a general concern that Elizora raised around focusing Umbra, like giving him a task. He might, because Umbra might get bored with just making memory potions. So we have to kind of come up with,
Make sure he's got his other projects.
coming up with projects. I mean, so that was, I think, the only thing that was part of this conversation. We'll see how it goes. We'll play it by ear. As I know that you have eyes and ears.
Oh, you know.
I know. One of the many reasons you're my first mate. Know what's happening.
I'll try. He's a slippery son of a gun, that's for sure.
Oh, very much so.
Also, really, the Crescent Moon Pirates, I mean, 5?
Well-
You're really ruining our reputation from the start here.
I know. It's what I wanted to. Funny enough, you mentioned that. That's the name I came up with. I kind of stuck. You'll just be glad I didn't rename.
It was renamed once. As long as it's not equal to Coronet, it's not too bad, I guess.
Well, if you don't like the Crescent Moon.
I have to speak at this point. One, if you rename the damn ship again, I swear to God. And two, basically, Vaela's mentioning that she had also not just the Crescent Moon Pirates as the name for the pirates, but she also had an idea for a different name for the ship. We've gone from Bone Breaker to Bone Blade, and that's all fine and everything. But I'm just going to say there's going to be a lot of really confused NPCs if you rename the ship again.
Oh, I know. I mean, she's not renaming the ship because she feels like a ship is almost like a person, right? Like you can't. Once it's given a name, you shouldn't really change it. Like there's no real reason to. Like a crew name, maybe if it's under new leadership and stuff. But like generally, you don't. You know, she came onto the ship as the Bone Blade. Like she has no interest. Well, you know, she's not going to rename it, even if she had an idea of what she wanted her first ship to, to be called. But she won't rename the ship. If they get a new ship, that's a different. But she's not going to rename the ship.
It's hard to get your own fleet if you get another ship.
Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose if we lose this ship and we have to get another one, then she'll have to rename the ship. Potentially rename the new one, or they get a ship made for them, or whatever. Who knows? But that name is locked and loaded, ready to go for whenever it's needed.
God.
Yeah. Equal groans, I imagine, when that comes out. Thank you always for your.
Wow, mate.
That'll be it from her standpoint.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
Alarias? Tim? Anything you guys want to do?
No.
A few
not
days
especially.
travel ahead of you.
Depends when how the news broke into him that he knew.
I imagine that would have been like an initial conversation that Vaela planned, so it would probably be after the first day, I imagine.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
So I think the part we're missing here is that Vaela's saying that Tim's in charge of when Umbra gets involved, and Umbra's meant to be a resource for Tim.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, because Tim was, because I think it looks like it's cutting out for Tim as well, for Dom, but he was expressing concern, or that he's basically just been handed Umbra. Said,
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere. So here you go, it's an
Here,
Umbra.
take the Changeling.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was just setting up making sure Tim was comfortable with it all. But yeah, as you said, like it was making sure that like it's that he's there for Tim to use. If he doesn't want Umbra's help, he doesn't have to. So, and all the other main thing was as well as like Tim had to let Vaela know if Umbra is withholding treatment for his own interests. How Tim would recognise that, I have no idea. But that's basically what that is, because we've kind of said to Umbra that he's kind of got first dibs on the dead, especially their enemies. What we don't want is Umbra going, oh, oops, I forgot to give him that medicine. I forgot to close that wound properly.
Yeah. Oh no, I've let your arm get infected. We'll have to cut it off.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just making sure that he still has his still his take. If he's going to help Tim, that he's got to preserve life, not
Yes.
go shopping.
Crew's got to come first.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Alarias, is there anything you would like to do?
I think I might, not now, but as we get closer to Serpent's Pass, speak to Temrin. So I think he has some information on it from his father or from him. I remember there was reference to him. So yeah, it doesn't have to happen now. Just whenever we get close to Serpent's Pass, we'll have a chat with him. And I forgot I do have Find Familiar, so I'll summon a little fishy. So we got a fishy in the water, swimming with us. So we got eyes underwater.
Oh, such.
Ba-
Very good shout,
based on
actually.
this previous attack, I want to make sure we've got kind of.
I assume
Eyes
it
of
has like dark vision and stuff. right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's got like 40-foot swim speed, dark vision, 60 feet dark vision.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, we can use it to kite enemies or be bait, or just like see
mean-
if there's any enemies coming
I mean, it's a quipper, right? It's not baiting anything. It's a tiny little fish.
up. You never know.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So you've got some extra eyes on the side. So if you're gonna wait till you're a little bit closer, I will ask Elizora to make a d20 roll, please,
Just on its own. Do you want me to add anything?
on its own.
The 4.
Oh, well, that's good because I thought you said it's on a 2 initially, so that's better. On a 4. Cool. So after a couple of days or so, No-Eyed Bill comes to you all of asking for an officers' meeting very quickly, mainly about the artifacts. I don't know why it took me so long to figure this out, but last thing decided not to work. Got a strange thing going on here, and he starts twisting it. And as it does, the map that comes up before appears, and the dots are flickering in and out for some reason. The water whistle is there. It's sort of like a gentle fade in, fade out. Some of the other ones are really flickering. The one on the island of You is flickering somewhat fast.
Like, are they glitching out? Like they've just like staggered, like moving?
No, they're just blinking. I've never seen them do that before.
What have you done?
I don't know what I've done. I don't know.
Didn't smell your coffee on the thing.
No. What's coffee?
Didn't duck it in some soup or some kind.
Coffee must
Get all
exist.
messy.
I thought we
Co-
had
Coffee does exist.
Yeah.
He's just never had it.
Wow. Okay. Fine.
I'm a
She's like-
blind man on the ocean. Why would I be trying new drinks other than rum?
I mean, can you fix whatever?
I don't know. All I know is we can still kind of see them. They're not like disappearing. They're not gone from the map. They just keep flickering. Some of them faster, some of them slower.
Oh, hey, Tran. Why are your brothers and sisters so flickery or doohickey or weirdy, wobbly, what's a biggie, what?
Oh, mate. Feel a little bit, tingly. I don't know. There's some vibration in the air or something. I don't know.
Great help, thanks. The Trident's
What do you
feeling all
want
oozy
from
woozy
me? I don't
too.
have any eyes. I can't fucking see. I'm a trident.
Supposed to help. You're supposed to know these things. You're an artifact yourself. You're
Look,
the one who can
look,
talk.
Look,
You're smart.
look, all right, okay, look. All right. I might have some thoughts and some capabilities, but no one said nothing about intelligence.
Right.
All right.
No. But anyway, the Trident's being all dodgy too.
But
Little
all right.
rogue runner.
I've got a feeling. All right. That's all I know.
Interference. Some sort of.
As you call it.
Uh,
Are we in range of a certain island or a landmark? Or...
So as you're sailing through, this will probably be you are in between the 3 islands I mentioned.
You crack.
Yeah, can I do some sort of weird ass Arcana vibe check? See if I can pick up
Yeah, you
anything.
can do a weird ass Arcana vibe check. I'll never say
Yeah,
no
can
to
we
a
tell if
weird
it's
ass
like
Arcana vibe check.
based on range or something?
Sorry, say that again, Tim.
Can we tell if it's based on range or anything?
Doesn't seem to be anything. Bill's just come to you with this. There's no change. You're still moving, sailing wise. There's no change. It's still just consistently happening.
17.
There is like a magical electricity to the air. There's something. You're not sure what it is. But Alarias, there's lots of things that can affect the weave of magic. And it feels like perhaps something might be happening right now on a very, very low level.
Okay, so we've got some low level interference. Problem is that this could get worse as we approach. We're in some sort of range. We've hit this interference, but it could get worse.
Don't tell me the Commodore's messing around with the crown. Good, I mean. Well, you may not understand what's going on. Just like, I'm just gonna go put on the crown, go oogly oogly, and it goes all. I don't know.
Have anyone else been to
The
Kenshima?
trident speaks into your head, Elizora, and just goes, "Did you say oogity boogity?" He said, "I'm the idiot."
I think this is going to be something that I'm going to have to leave magically inclined to figure out because I have no idea. Have a look into.
It's just a feeling.
I guess for now, monitor what it is, try and figure out what it is. Carry on going the way. I mean, considering you're heading towards Kenshima, I'm gonna explain what that is, what I'm saying, a bit clearer. Because basically, the theory Vaela has is that it's because there's a theory that the pistol is on Kenshima, but we can't pick up on the signal. If there is interference, it could be that it's coming from Kenshima. That's where it's originating from. So, if the globe gets worse the closer we get to Kenshima, what we can do is go, alright, let's circle out, like sort of swim away from Kenshima, or sail away from Kenshima, and see if it starts getting better, and then kind of go back and see if it gets worse, because then we'll have a rough idea. If it's coming from Kenshima, then it's something we can prepare for. And it could also then stand to reason that pistol is there, we just can't sense it. That was kind of what Vaela was getting at.
Yeah, I think. That was the general plan and consensus, and a completely reasonable theory. Right, of course. Yes, Captain. Thought I should warn you all.
Oh, no, thank you.
Not at all. Well, the next day, as you've now chosen to be the eyes under the water, Alarias, can you roll a d20, please?
Yeah, can indeed. 18.
There is a sudden gust of wind in your favour. Make very, very good journey time. Are aligned. Serpent's Pass. Very close to Kenshima now. Like to have that chat with Temrin yet?
I think we're gonna beeline for Kenshima anyway.
How's the globe doing?
Seems the same.
Not getting any worse.
No, it seems the same. But as your sails fill and the salted, briny air fills your lungs, you make great headway along to Kenshima. You are probably a day out. Map, so one more sleep essentially, and then you'll be there. Yes, you can get a long rest. You can
Thank you.
aim the dice. Does anyone want to do anything on the night before you'll arrive at Kenshima? You'll probably arrive there in the dawn, or you'll see it at least on the horizon in the dawn. Make headway until morning.
Speak to Elena. Probably with Elizora.
Yes.
Just to see if there's... Vaela's summoned for Elena, with Elizora as well, because Elena's obviously from Kenshima. And the crux of this conversation is Vaela wants to know as much about Kenshima as possible from someone who's obviously from there. You know, customs, the way they live, their beliefs, you know, do's and don'ts, essentially.
It has
Any
been a
kind
long time, but yes. Put away the guns. My people are a simple people. They follow a form of the sword. Is their faith, their religion, their everything. They work by honor and respect. They will accept bad manners by ignorance, but after you are corrected, keep their laws. They are very stuck in their ways. They do not know much of the outside world. They have been protected from many raids by their capability, and they have the finest blades. All of the seas.
I think we probably should have postulated. So that question is how likely we are to find recruits in Kenshima, because that was kind of one of the reasons we're going there. And something we probably should have asked way earlier than a day out.
Yeah, I literally thought that the night before you're actually asking that question of the person that actually lived there, but you know, this was good. It's good. There may be some young ones for a challenge. They will be uncomfortable, but they will not stand in the way of progress. Especially if there is a way to challenge the younger ones to make them better. The selling point I should put forward would not involve crime or criminal activity, but instead adventure and strength of their blade. He gets close to you for a second, kind of pats you on the shoulder, and just as like a calming, really serious eye-to-eye contact moment, stares to you, just pointing, just goes, they are very much in their bubble. They care for their own. They care about their island. They are not particularly caring for the matters of the. So just thing to clarify here, because I think some of my words are also getting lost a bit. Essentially, the people of Kenshima are, as heard, in their bubble, but they're not one for world politics, not one for other islands. They care not for if other people are getting raided. They care not if other people are dying. They only really care for their people, their culture, their island. And if someone, and I'll elaborate by saying if someone wanted to join their island and become one of their people, they could, as long as they accepted their ways. But for everyone else, the rest of the world, it does not affect them. It is outside of their bubble. They do not care.
Yeah, and preventing the second coming of a flood,
If
quite
their
important
island,
to save their island.
if their island is in danger, that is probably the most powerful. Do not challenge anyone to a duel. Will die.
No.
I just want to say, because just in case you don't, the Vaela was literally planning to say to go to do a duel, essentially. So she was planning to do this,
Yeah.
and it's the first thing I said not to do.
No, exactly. Yeah, because she thought like if she could like prove, capability with the sword, it might gain favor. So
I will say, and I'll say it as commentary, but if Vaela's confident enough in her abilities, she could still go for a duel. Elena just isn't.
well, that's fair.
Don't. You'll fuck it up. I'm sorry, you will.
Okay.
Vaela, you've got to understand something about my people. The sword is not just an art form, a life, extension of their body. Carry a blade from the age of 8, 7 even. Practice the forms. It is a dance. It's not just a way to stab the other man. It's art. I will ask one favor. I did not leave on the best of terms. I would prefer not to go on board, and in all honesty, it is probably best I don't show my face if you are trying to.
No, that's. Oh, is it going to?
The young
So the question there was, is it going to cause a problem if once they've joined? Because if they don't like her face there, what happens when they come onto the ship and they see her? If it was going to cause a problem.
younger ones probably will not remember me, and if they do, I think a fair few of them were impressed. The elders will remember.
No, that's fine. Well, I'll let you carry on.
Thank you, Captain. Okay. Morris,
That conversation.
like to speak to Temrin?
We can save it for next session, but yeah, I think he will.
Cool.
I think he'll ask him about the interference actually as well. 'Cause, yeah, he might know something.
Cool. Does anyone have anything else they would like to do the night before they end up in Kenshima? Okay. Then, I know you're going to talk next session, but what better way to finish the session with a description? On the dawn, the horizon brings light on a very small island distance. You sail toward it. Noticed a mainly green, lush island, small wooden huts, rather larger building to one end of this island, but the thing that pokes out most from the horizon is a large, crooked blossom tree with pink petals bloomed. And as you're sailing towards it, sailing past in the breeze are these petals, almost dancing around the sails as you arriving closer and closer to the island. As you get closer, you realize it's barely a single village. It's more of a hamlet almost. There's very few houses there, single temple. See, there are 3 figures standing on the treetop, but underneath the shade of this blossom tree. A large extension of their arm is moving and dancing around the blossom. And as they are moving with the wind, breeze, croaking of each branch, they eventually extend out and settle, each one of them catching a pink petal on the end of their blade, beginning to dock. A few of the younger members of this village begin to come down, and their dock is very much just beach. There is no plan for visitors here. There is no tradesmen. They're just a singular place for their fishing boat. See that there might be some farms, very simple agriculture around each hovel of a home, and there is a smaller, more destroyed hut down lower on the beach, just round to one side next to some rocks. The home is empty, glass of the windows shattered. Not glass, the paper of the windows shattered, destroyed. Half the building caved in. And as the elders, as the men and women down the tree, seemingly towards your arrival, as a crowd, very small crowd, begins to assemble, there are stern faces amongst all of them. And every single one of them, down to the children, are bearing Arna-like blade, standing forth, guarded, all drawn, all in their main guard form, ready to attack.
Don't know visitors.
Shall end there, our pirate adventure. Will you manage to convey the gravity of the situation, perhaps gain some recruits? Could you perhaps persuade them to even let you upon the island? Have to be turned back. Barrage of Warrior Island may be too much for them. Let's tune in next time. Pirate Adventures.